Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Lewiston Tribune podcast. My name is Trevan Pixley. I'm the online editor here at the Lewiston Tribune, and I am very excited for this edition of the podcast because we get to open up and talk about my old beat, my former bread and butter, the Idaho Vandals, more specifically, the Idaho football team. And joined with me is the man that has taken over the beat the last couple of weeks, Mr. Sam Taylor. Sam, how are you doing?
Great, Trevan. Thanks for having me. It's an exciting time for Vandal Nation, and excited to get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've normally Sam is our WSU man, but after Randy departed to take another gig as a SID at Walla Walla University, Sam has kind of stepped in. He's more in a prominent role covering both colleges. The other day, Sam had 3 bylines, I believe, on the front page it was.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah, so he has stepped up in a big way. In these last couple of weeks covering the Vandals, what have you seen from these guys?
Yeah, well, this is a gritty football team. It's no secret that this team has experienced a multitude of injuries. 4 quarterbacks touching the ball throughout the season. And none of the, Jack Wagner, who entered the season as the backup, getting, 7 starts. Jack Lane, who is their quarterback 1 and for that Oregon game, hurt his collarbone in that game, was out for, almost 2 months, returned, was out again. He returned and, is now prepared to make his, I believe it's just like 7th or 8th career start and his 3rd consecutive start. So, this Vandal, but just not the Vandals are a gritty team. They obviously are one of the top 8 teams in the FCS for a reason. The committee thought they were exactly number 8, giving them the number 8 seed, and this on a first round bye, which they've used to get a little bit healthier, especially in the running back room for Elijah Cummings potentially returning for their matchup. And it's an exciting time because they've got the Lehigh Mountain Hawks coming to Moscow, and they've got home playoff football. It's their 3rd playoff game at the Kibbie Dome in 2 years. Coach Jason Eck has been to the playoffs in each of the 3 years he's been here. So the Vandals, they have a new standard of excellence, and they've lived up to it again despite some pretty tough obstacles this year.
Yeah, you said it. You kind of ran through it there, kind of all the obstacles that the Vandals have gone through, and they finished the season by being the number 8 seed in the playoffs despite all those obstacles. A lot of people I saw on Twitter, online, maybe thought that even, they could have been higher in the playoff seeding there. Kind of touch on their seeding, the 8th seeding, and, do you think that that's where they should have been, or do you think they could have been a little bit higher when this kind of came around?
Certainly. I think Coach Jason Eck kind of touched on this. He said he was advocating for the number 6 seed and kind of speaking out just about the fact that, the Vandals, they play in the Big Sky Conference, number 1 team in the nation. Montana State is in their conference. They have to deal with that, and obviously that was like their most lopsided loss of the season. Vandals only lost 3 games, and the teams that beat them are each going to their respective playoff. Two teams in the FCS are in the playoff, and of course, a 10-point loss to the number 1 in both the college football playoff poll and the Associated Press poll, Oregon Ducks, who Oregon remains undefeated. And so, as of the teams combined are like 34-3 or something crazy like that. The 3 teams they've lost to, and so and the teams that they beat, obviously they beat. Now, not every victory was pretty, and that's kind of what would drop the Vandals down. But when you really look at it, the Vandals have faced one of the toughest schedules in the FCS this year, and emerged really well.
Yeah, the Vandals kept finding ways to win, and in the postseason, they're going to have to continue to find ways to win because if they lose, their season is done. You mentioned they're going to play Lehigh in the opening round. Kind of tell the people what they need to know about Lehigh and how the Vandals are going to kind of have to attack them. Let's start off with the offense. How are they going to have to attack this Lehigh team offensively?
Yes, the Lehigh Mountain Hawks, they have a really consistent rushing attack. You really look at them. They're 9-3 on the season. They're number 1 in the Patriot League. When you look at their rushers, they really have no one is over 1,000 yards, but they have 3 guys who have at least 318 yards. When you look at that, and look at this here. Luke Yoder is their leading rusher, 955 yards on 182 carries. Jaden Green, 797 yards, 129 carries, and then Hayden Johnson, 318 yards and 58 carries. And this is a team that obviously upset number 9 Richmond last week with a fourth quarter comeback. They were trailing the Spiders. Love FCS mascot names, but they were trailing the Spiders, on the road in Richmond. They bust there. They bust from Pennsylvania down to Richmond, Virginia, and beat the Spiders. And after a long, it was an 8-hour bus ride or something, I heard they got the 20-16 win. They did it with fourth quarter comeback. They were trailing by just a score, but they still were trailing in the fourth quarter in the playoffs on the road. That's tough. And they came back, scored twice, and won it. And so this is a gritty Lehigh team. And obviously Idaho got bounced in the third round by Albany last year. Another team from the East Coast that traveled over 2,000 miles to the Kibbie Dome and shocked the Vandals. And so nothing's guaranteed. Lehigh already upset one team, and you got to expect that they might upset another.
Yeah, talking about the Vandals here, what are they going to have to do, whether it be schematically, offensively, defensively, how are they going to have to attack Lehigh in order to come out of this one on the right end of things?
Yeah, so obviously the Vandals' defensive line has been a strength of theirs, pretty much the entire defense. Like on the offense, they were replacing a lot of they were replacing a lot of veterans who left by the transfer portal. They had some folks who stayed, such as wide receiver Jordan Dwyer, and so and the Vandals' offense has just kind of done enough to win, and they've been pretty impressive. But the defense has been the Vandals' real bread and butter. That's the success that they've found, and they've got a lot of veterans, Tommy McCormick, Keyshawn James Newby, obviously, who have been turning heads and just really playing well. Keyshawn, he is questionable to play this weekend. There's hope that he will, but as of Monday, the position was that they were just monitoring things. That's what Coach Jason Eck said. But when you really dig into it, they're going to have to really obviously attack the quarterback. Defensive line's been, the pressure they've been able to generate has been immense. And then you look at, obviously an inferior opponent, but Idaho State. Idaho State was able to go 60-some yards in 30 seconds to end the first half, and then what do you know? They make a tackle on the 1-yard line, prevent the shot at the end zone with 2 seconds left on the next play, and then they come out of the half protecting that lead. And so that's the kind of clutch defense that we've seen from the Vandals all year. Just they're able to make that play, and they're able to every level of the defense, from the defensive backs, linebackers to defensive lines, able to make a difference and stick to their assignment. So this is a smart group. They do their homework. I don't think they're underestimating Lehigh at all, especially after their upset and then their experience in last year's playoff. And so it's kind of just going to center on their stars doing what, and everybody. I mean, it's like a cliche Bill Belichick thing, but do your job. They know what they can do, and there's no reason to suspect that they won't do it.
Yeah, the Vandals' offensive line is a unit that I notoriously critiqued a lot during my time as a Idaho beat reporter. This year, I do think that they have shown signs of improvement, though I think they are still a bit hot and cold when it comes down to it. This Lehigh unit, pretty good at getting after the quarterback. They have 33 sacks. As a team, Sam. They have one guy who has 11 sacks, double-digit sacks. If you have a guy like that on your team as an FCS squad, you are a problem. How do you think this offensive line is going to match up against this D-line from what you have seen from Lehigh and, their ability to get after the quarterback?
Yeah, I think definitely they're going to be under some pressure, especially as tough that they're Vandals are a little bit beat up at the running back position. Nate Thomas, who ran for 171 yards against Idaho State 2 weeks ago, is not expected to play. He's very doubtful to play. That's what Coach Jason Eck said. And but on the flip side, you have Elijah Cummings, who was unavailable the last couple of weeks, returning. And so, and then several other names in the Vandals backfield. And so the offensive line's kind of held their own. You got to, if you're going to have guys rush for, triple digits and against any opponent. But Nate Thomas is particularly unique in that he's able to make guys miss. And so even if, they don't block a play as well as they could have, there was a play in the Weber State game that Jason Eck talked about where the Vandals, they blocked it for, maybe a no gain or maybe even a loss of a yard is how it schemed out. Unfortunately, but Nate Thomas, took the ball, made a couple of people miss, and then after the contact, got every last yard he could. And he turned a negative play into a positive 6-yard carry. And that was just one example. Now, with Nate Thomas possibly not on the field, you're missing that element, but your other running backs have proven an ability to make plays in a similar way. And so the nice part, it's kind of like reminds me of the Seahawks of Kenneth Walker III. He's rated like one of the finest running backs in the NFL in terms of Pro Football Focus, in terms of, just overall making people miss and yards of the carry, all that stuff. But that's because a lot of his carries are if he wants to pick up any yards, he's getting hammered before he gets to the line. And so Seahawks fans may appreciate that, or obviously criticize that, but appreciate that about K9. And a similar story for the Vandals. Not that the offensive line is as obviously lost to the Seahawks is relative to their league. The Vandals have held their own and done well, but the playmaking ability of the running backs has certainly benefited the Vandals this year.
And you mentioned health, and we talked about it with the running backs. We've seen what a healthy Jack Lane does for this offense. They win football games. What have you liked from Jack Lane, and how has he looked? Coming back from his injury, in your opinion, and how much is he going to affect this team and how they play against Lehigh in the postseason? This will be his first postseason start as well for Jack Lane, the young man.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, a lot of his finest tape is against Idaho State, like the certified Bengal slayer, with 3 of his 8 or so career starts coming against Idaho State. And in his last outing against Idaho State, he certainly looked the part, just tossing that ball all over the yard. Obviously he's got a great arm, good head on his shoulders, and then he's able to get the ball to his playmakers, namely Jordan Dwyer and Mark Hamper, who have, they take Mark Hamper in particular, in the Weber State game, had 130 or so yards after the catch. And so that's when, in the screen game and a lot of those short slant passes, he's able to get a lot of ground. And so Jack Lane knows the strengths of his guys, and I think he's able to get the ball to him and also make deep throws too. It's not just, tink and dink down the field. Obviously they're able to do that, but they're also able to take deep shots and run trick plays as they did in Oregon, and do a whole host of things. And so Jack Lane, I think I asked him just what he's going to be thinking when he walks out onto the field on Saturday. And he said that his word of the year has been grateful. He's grateful that he's here in December, especially with how August ended for him, and his season started for him just with the collarbone injury. He said recover from that, play, suffer another setback, get back on the field for a second time recovering, and now he's making his 3rd consecutive start, and it's in the playoffs, and it's at home, it's in front of Vandal Nation, and so the word of the day is grateful, and I think the Vandals, particularly Jack Lane, are going to come out with a lot of energy, just wanting to dig in, and they're perfect at home. I asked there was just kind of go on another little sidetrack here, but what it means to be perfect at home, and Coach Eck was obviously being perfect at home during the regular season is a huge accomplishment. It's something to take a lot of pride in. But it would be kind of sour if they went perfect at home in the regular season and then lost in the postseason at home, and so that would kind of damper things. And so I think all the leaders, all the folks on that team, particularly Jack Lane, are focused on getting that dub.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a big game, a big home game for the Vandals here against Lehigh, especially after going undefeated at the Kibbie Dome. First time they've done that since the 90s. I mean, the Jason Eck era, he keeps on setting up those marks where it's the first time the Vandals have done this since 1996 or since 1998. I mean, it cannot be understated how successful the Jason Eck era has been in Moscow. But with that being said, Sam, I do want to kind of talk about some of the stuff with Jason Eck this year. I mean, there had been some questionable, maybe 4th down decisions, maybe some trick plays here and there where maybe they didn't fit, and people sitting on the couch can question the coach all day long, but, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Kind of talk to me about Jason Eck's play calling this year, his philosophy, and how do you think he's going to attack this game against Lehigh? Do you think it's going to be the same Jason Eck that you're going to get every Saturday? Do you think he's going to turn on the 4th downs, the fake punts, trick plays a little bit more, or do you think he's going to be a little bit more conservative against Lehigh?
Yeah, I think you got to play to your strengths and just be true to who you are. And for Coach Eck, that's as you said, gutsy fourth down calls, trick plays, a whole host of things. I think honestly, the 11,000 or however many fans show up to the Dome on Saturday, we'd be disappointed if they didn't see a little bit of that. Obviously, whatever it takes to win, I'm sure the corner club would be hopping after that. But I think if they try to be conservative, or if they try to, just not be as aggressive as they can, I think they might get themselves in a position where they're going to need to be, bold in order to win this game. And so I think they just got to stay true to who they are. I'm obviously no expert. I'm just a glorified person on a couch, but my couch is, several hundred feet above the field, and so that's nice. But it's interesting just to see that all play out, and I think we'll see Jason Eck that we've seen every other Saturday. I think he has no reason to change. It got him this far, and we'll see how far it can take him.
Yeah, we'll see if they put themselves in situations where, Jason Eck needs to go for those fourth downs, if they are in situations where they need to take the points, or if they're going to go for those fourth downs. That's what I think I'm most interested in when it comes to this playoff game is, how many coulda, shoulda, wouldas will there be during this contest. I think there were quite a bit this season with the Vandals where, whether it be in games that they won or games that they lost, where you just think to yourselves, if Jason Eck took those points, if the Vandals made this decision, it would have went a different route. But, that's any coach in the league. I mean, it's the whole Dan Campbell saga for the Detroit Lions. People love you, people hate you for it. And, we'll see what the Vandals are able to do come Saturday. But, Sam, when it comes down to it, what are the Vandals going to need to do in order to advance in the postseason here?
Well, I think they've got to continue to run the ball. It kind of starts there. Obviously, they've gotten really good performances from all their running backs. Triple-digit game from Nate Thomas against Idaho State. Now, obviously, Lehigh is no Idaho State. Like they won their league. They're in the playoffs for a reason. They upset Richmond. It's going to be tough sledding in the trenches. But the Vandals have to stay committed, at least early on, to some form of a run game. And I think that they've got the personnel Eliza Cummings and other guys to make that happen. I think also, just getting the ball, they've had no problem. Well, they've had some problems, but, when they get the ball into the playmakers' hands, Jordan Dwyer, Mark Hamper, namely, as the receivers, Mike Martinez as tight end has been a great surprise, great season for him. When they get the ball into their playmakers' hands, good things happen. Even if it's just like, a 3-yard pass through the air, and then, that can turn into a 30-yard gain. And so good things happen when they get the ball into the hands of their playmakers. And then defensively, hope for health for their sake to get all the guys needed on the field, and then just attack. Like, they've been pretty disciplined. They've been able to make a lot of good plays throughout the season. And I think that's going to be, because I don't think the mental side will bite them. Now, hoping, obviously, we'll see. But just talking to them this week, it seems that, they're all very focused. They're all, not taking things seriously. Obviously, not watching it every single moment, not there when they're studying film. I'm not, just visiting them for like 20 minutes. That hard to tell from that alone. But I think that experience of losing to Albany last year at home, in the last minute fashion that they did, comeback fashion for Albany, was a lesson and sticks in their minds a little bit. Now, obviously, you got to be able to learn and also just wipe, and you can't let that impact your confidence or anything. But I think the Vandals, the focus is going to be essential to winning, and all signs point to them having that focus.
We will see what the Vandals will do. We'll see what the next chapter of the Eck era brings at the Kibbie Dome on Saturday against Lehigh. Thank you guys again for tuning in to another edition of the Lewiston Tribune podcast, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.